Previously on Legends of Aelos. Before Rowan and the other party members that can see him stands the Black Raven, though he still appears as a frail old man to those unfamiliar with the entity. Rowan knows there could be no other reason for a raven's visit aside from the chalice, and knowing the depths to which this particular fragment will stoop makes Rowan all the more eager to get Evelyn away from him and he as far away from the homestead as possible. Asher and Karan come out attempting to assist Rowan without drawing too much attention to the creature's true self, and as this develops outside, Aurelia, Briar, and Cole shutter up the house as best as possible and relocate everyone to the master bedroom after Evelyn and Ella have returned inside. The Black Raven, now just immediately addressing those whom he seeks, speaks in a more curt and direct fashion. It is aware that the party has but to destroy or deform the chalice as it is already in their possession, an action that the Black Raven takes to ultimatum to see that it is done. Despite all the logic and reasoning the three members outside pose to sway the motivations of the creature. Eventually, its scintillating green eyes look to a stone dodecahedron it has produced, as it states that there will be dire consequences were this die to be cast, and cast it shall be if they do not comply with its demand. Soon after, Karan receives a message, he permitting it through the veil produced by his ring of mind shielding. It is Mother Raven, and though she states she cannot prevent what might transpire here, if they hold true to fulfilling the task initially charged to Dom, she can take action to rectify whatever impact it might have. Karan relays this to Rowan, and the fighter ponders his decision and the myriad consequences before ultimately deciding to look upon a raven in the vicinity and ask it for its mother. But Mother Raven does not appear, and at the utterance of this from Rowan, the Black Raven had held true to its word, as the cast die lands upon a face, and in an instant the entity vanishes from the front porch. At that very moment, inside the bedroom where the other occupants of the home are huddled, the entity manifests, and before anyone can react, it utters a word towards Ella, and she falls limp and lifeless to the floor. Immediately, the others spring into action. Cole attempts to rush the creature, but he is paralyzed in an instant. Meanwhile, Asher rushes to revivify Ella. The diamond that he holds disintegrates as it channels Ella's soul back into her body, life returning to her eyes. Still, the raven lingers with its threat as Rowan continues outside trying to reach out to Mother Raven. Still, she does not manifest. Briar had grabbed the die that the raven possessed, but the object itself is mundane, and it simply removes another small stone from its pocket and then shapes it into another dodecahedron die before it casts once more. Once more he imposes his power, and Asher falls. The Black Raven then tauntingly gives the die it just used to Karan, implying it as a motivational token, a reminder of what had occurred. The raven departs, and Briar sees outside as a black-hued raven flies off, and immediately recognizes the green hue of another raven, a raven that cocks its head inquisitively as they meet eyes. The trickster green raven makes its diminutive frame present and greets her as he assesses the situation, despite already being privy to what has occurred, considering it being another part of the fractured whole. Rowan, now inside, is brought up to speed on what had happened while he was attempting to reach Mother Raven. Falson sternly asks of his son what he has gotten himself into, but Karan exclaims it is not his fault, and that it was fated upon them when Dom accepted the task inadvertently. Rowan then proceeds to explain what the grander picture is, the events of the Raven of the past against Gahendra, and that the long-sealed entity could be stirring. They eventually make their way downstairs with Asher's body, the trickster raven interjecting with its comments and opinions as they process what has happened. The small green creature might not be nearly as vicious as its black-hued alter, but its motivations are still aligned with it. Destroy or deform, just be certain that it does not come into possession of the object. Though this raven truly is less destructive than the former, its manipulation is to a degree that is on par with the efforts of the other. As they speak, the goblin-like man pens and seals a message scroll before having a familiar flighted away off to its intended recipient. When pressed who that it was destined for, the creature alludes that it is for Jazir, Rowan's old rival and local regent, potentially an issue with the party attempting to lay low for the time being. Soon after, this raven departs, the effects of its trickery having yet to present themselves. The group await the third and final form of the raven, yet even after ascending outreach from Briar, Mother Raven has yet to present herself. Cole inquires about this third entity they've yet to meet, and he and the others uninformed are fully brought up to speed on the particularities of the Raven, Gehendra, and all they've learned up to this point. Rowan asks of his mother what she might know of the Raven, and Ella responds she only knows the deities of some of the older Tailmean families. However, there was one house that was more dedicated to the old faiths than the rest. A house with a raven as its patron deity, the house of the current ruler of the Sun Elf Kingdom and blood enemy of Rowan and Ella. The presentation of this seems to stir a firmness and resolve in Rowan, but at the same time, a gentle knock is heard upon the rear door, and Rowan answers to find Mother Raven standing before him. Though now long after the appearance and departure of the first raven at this point, Mother Raven holds true to her word, and apparently in as literal a means as she spoke. Though she was not able to intervene in the deaths of Ella and Asher within moments of arriving and being welcomed in, without requiring the chalice first, even speaking on how this is not being done to sway the party's opinion, she pauses at Asher's body, still under Karun's gentle repose. For a few moments, she focuses her magic upon him, and soon, breath and life return to Asher as his eyes open once more. Mother Raven then confers what knowledge she can, even if cryptically per her constraints, to answer the questions Rowan and the others have, particularly considering the recent revelation of what deity Kethrul's house worships. To that, Mother Raven clarifies that Kethrul's family is young, and its worship only started after the splintering of the deity's original form. She also enlightens Rowan as best she can on what history of his house's wolfen deity she knows. Alas, there is not much, considering that the deity had long passed from this world, and it was before the time of the Raven proper. This information, and her conveyed desire to resurrect Asher before even hearing the party's decision on the chalice, finally brings that chalice into the hands of Mother Raven. As she takes possession of it from Rowan, a burden the party has long carried has finally been eased, and somewhere, someplace, a gear is set into motion once more. She smiles to them all before she departs. Then, transforming into her raven form, she leaves from whence she came, a single purple feather remaining where she stood. After her departure, the group take a moment to rest and prepare for the arrival of Jazir, whom is the most likely arrival that message had been bound for. Cole speaks with his brothers, who refuse the motion from Cole for them to depart before whomever is coming arrives. Cole also provides Aurelia with a dagger that he believed to be far more suited for her use than his, especially considering them being traveling companions now. They clean and rest until there is another knock at the rear door, though It turns out not to be a rival of Rowan's, but his uncle, Thadrak. The jovial smith greets him and the others with his confident disposition familiar to all who know him for even a few moments. Along with Thadrak, the party are introduced to his traveling companion, a tree squirrel named Critter. It is through Asher's ability to speak with animals that the most interesting component to the relationship between the smith and the squirrel is revealed. That Critter is a lot more calculating in why he keeps the company of a human smith. Food is a necessity for all creatures, after all. After the introductions, they all return to waiting for Jazir, and after some time, Falson notices his approach along with 2 guards, an escort, a far better sign than if he were to have come with a proper detachment in rank and file. Rowan proceeds to open the door and begins to greet his old rival. Jazir greets Rowan fondly, eager to both reminisce and catch up on how both of them have gotten along these past years, and the growth they've both experienced. He and his guards are invited inside, and all settle into the main room and out of the brisk air of the north. It doesn't take long for the party to determine that there's nothing but warmth and honesty in Jazir's disposition. He reassures them that their safety in Herondine is guaranteed, as well as voices his opinion of the motions set forth by the Queen of Belpeth and his disapproval of them. After visiting for some time, speaking on these events along with the upcoming rite, Jazir sets to depart at 10 to the matters of building a case against the Queen, with Aurelia also suggesting that the temple would likely align with their cause. Jazir acknowledges this with the statement that the North will rally. And it is from here we shall continue the story of the Legends of Aelos.